Hi everyone, so the Beatles Anthology relaunch has been announced today. I'm going to go through what's been announced, the different configurations, what is there, what isn't there, and hopefully by the time that this is released on November 26th I will be in my new room. I won't be in this blank room here, and I'll be able to cover it all in detail. We'll do some live World Cups as well, because I know a lot of you like those. So we've known that this has been coming for probably about 18 months now. It feels like I've been talking about this forever. But there's three main components to this relaunch of the Beatles Anthology that's been announced today. The first one is the relaunch of the actual documentaries. So it's coming to Disney Plus. Yes, that seems to be where the Beatles put all their things these days. And they're going to be showing the 8 episodes as it was released on DVD after the initial TV broadcast. So rather than the very truncated TV broadcast version, we're going to be getting the full version as it was released later on. It's all been remastered. It says here, I've got some notes here from what's been announced today. The restoration has been overseen by Apple Corps' production team working with Peter Jackson's Wingnut Films and Park Road Post teams. Interestingly, along with Giles Martin, who's created new audio mixers for the majority of the featured music. Now that's a little bit different to what's coming in the audio section that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. So there is also, excitingly, what I really like about this, and probably my favourite thing about the whole of this release, is there is a new episode 9 coming, which is going to be featuring those sessions from the 1990s where Paul, George and Ringo, when they came together to make Free as a Bird, Real Love and Now and Then, the Threetles sessions. What it doesn't say is how long this new episode 9 is going to be. I would love it if it's at least an hour long. I want, as much of this as possible. But I just hope it's not going to be a sort of pared down 15-20 minute episode, something like that. We may not know the answer to that until it comes out on streaming on November the 26th. I think it's important to look back at those sessions historically now, because they were 30 plus years ago. There's as much time elapsed from then until now as there was from the Rubber Soul sessions to the anthology being released. So, they're historical things in their own right, and especially with Now and Then coming out a couple of years ago. Was it really nearly 2 years ago that came out? Wow. I think it's time that we saw a lot more from those sessions. So I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, Disney Plus. I know that's going to annoy some people. Is there going to be a physical release of it on Blu-ray, DVD? Who knows? We're still waiting for Let It Be to get a physical release, and there's no sign of that incoming at the moment. So I hope there will be, but Disney Plus, there's so much Beatles content on there now with the Get Back movie, Let It Be, the Paul McCartney 321, Beatles 64. And now Anthology, well, from November. Surely, if you've not got it, it's worth it even just for a month. Binge watch it all for a month. That's, the best £8 or £9 you're ever going to spend, probably. So I'm very interested to see that. It'll be cleaned up. The titles that are on the original anthology don't stand up to modern big screen TVs. They look very dated and very lined, so it'd be great to hopefully have something that's more like what was on Get Back, very modern looking titles on there, and interesting to see how they'll clean the footage up. I hope Peter Jackson hasn't gone too much down the visual restoration front and made it look waxy like some of Get Back did. There are a couple of strange things on the new remastered Free as a Bird video that's out today. You'll be able to find that on the Beatles YouTube channel. Some of it does look a little odd, but overall that video looks really good, and the new remixed Free as a Bird does sound very good. I'll come on to that because I'm going to talk about the audio content next. So yeah, that's part one. Is the of the 3 parts that have been announced is the relaunched anthology documentary. So great that that's going to be available for a wider audience to see. Part 2, I'll cover this one fairly quickly, but the anthology book that came out in the 1990s, that's been relaunched. We've known that for a while. That's actually been available to pre-order for a while. I had that book when it first came out. I actually don't own it anymore. I sold it years ago. It was too big. I couldn't do anything with it. It was just too big to do anything with. It is a great book, but it was one that, I probably should have kept hold of that, to be honest. Will I rebuy it? We'll find out. I don't know yet. Part 3. This is probably the big one. The relaunch of the audio. Anthology 1, 2 and 3 that came out between 1995 and 1996. They are being re-released. There was some confusion earlier on today because some of the official press articles suggested that most of the audio had been remixed. Now that's changed to say remastered, which is why it took me by surprise a little bit, the thing about Giles Martin having remixed most of the audio for the documentaries. That's not happened, it would seem, for the majority of the anthology tracks. So here's what's happening. Anthologies 1, 2 and 3 are being re-released. As it stands at the moment, you can only buy all this in one bundle pack. You can't buy any of the anthologies separately. There is a CD version and there's a vinyl version. I will put links down below if you want to pre-order any of this. So there will be a box set that will have remastered versions of Anthology 1, 2 and 3 with the original track lists that it's always been. So I'm not going to cover that track list here because that information is, well, most Beatles fans have known about that for 30 years. The information's all out there. But we will, interestingly, get remastered versions of that audio. So it'll be interesting to hear whether or not they've made any improvements to the sound on some of those songs. The big deal here, though, is Anthology 4. We've never had that before. Now, I'm going to put here on screen a track listing of what's going to be on Anthology 4. Some of it you'll see is in white, some of it is in yellow. The ones that are in white, they are ones that have not been released previously. Okay, so we're getting some brand new tracks here that we've not heard, that we've not had released before. There are a couple actually that have been released before but not on CD, so they've been a bit clever with the wording. So I think it's the first 2 tracks, let me just double check this, on Anthology 4, which is I Saw Her Standing There Take 2 and Money, That's What I Want, Reduction Mix 7 Undubbed. They were on the 1963 Beatles bootleg recording album. Now, although it's got the word bootleg in there, it was an official release, digital only. It was released as a sort of a copyright protection thing back in, I think it must have been 2013 for the 50th anniversary of those 63 recordings. So I've got those already, and a lot of you will have those. Will have those 2 songs already, but they've not been released on CD before. So the ones that were in white were the ones that were new to this. The ones that were in yellow, a lot of them have been taken from the Super Deluxe boxes over the last few years, sort of from 2017 Sgt. Pepper onwards, which is curious, shall we say. It will give some people the chance to own those for the first time if they've not bought the big box sets. Would I have preferred Anthology 4 to be completely new to us material? Of course I would. Now, some people will complain entirely about what's in this package. Some people will be absolutely delighted, and both people are right, and anybody in between is right. If you're happy with it, great. If you're not happy with it, perfectly understandable. There are some things that look really interesting on here. So, for example, we've got In My Life Take 1. Great. Now, maybe that's out there on a bootleg. I've never heard that before. As I've said in videos before, I don't tend to listen to many bootlegs just because there's so much official stuff out there. That's all I've got time for. So I'm really interested to hear that. There's one that I do know from a bootleg, which was... Nowhere Man, first version, take 2. I'm not sure whether I'm familiar with that. I was getting mixed up with Norwegian Wood for a second. Forget that. So I'm very interested to hear that. There's an instrumental version of She's Leaving Home, take 1. We've got some new takes of Baby You're a Rich Man. They should be interesting, as well as rehearsal footage of, audio footage of All You Need Is Love from the BBC broadcast. So there is some really interesting stuff there. instrumental version of Hey Bulldog, for example. There are some things that I would have really, really loved on here, and I know that many other Beatles fans would have liked as well. Specifically, Carnival of Light. Are we ever going to get it? I know it's going to be rubbish, it's going to be awful, but let us at least make our own judgment of that, rather than just what we've heard from those very select few people who've ever heard it. Are they saving it for a future box set that covers the period between Sgt. Pepper and Yellow Submarine? And the White Album, so that sort of Magical Mystery Tour, Yellow Submarine period. Great if so, but we don't know that, so at the moment all we can feel is a little bit like it's another opportunity to have got that that's been denied. I would also have absolutely loved to have had Revolution Take 20, which was I think it was Take 18 that we got in the White Album box set in 2018, but Take 20 is the first one where Revolution, the jam at the end of Revolution, starts to morph into what would become Revolution 9 or something akin to it. So it's really where Revolution sort of branched off. It's a bit like Evolution, which is Revolution with the R dropped. It's a bit like Evolution. At some point it branches off and becomes something new. Take 20 of Revolution was that. Would have loved to have had that on here. I would have loved to have had the proper movie version of Magical Mystery Tour that's got John Lennon's intro and also his spoken bit in the middle, as it appeared on the original film rather than the later re-releases. I've had to make my own version of that, so I'll have to make do with that for a bit longer. So there's various things that would have liked that aren't there. Okay, is it because they've been saved for something else? Well, it's hard to see where Revolution Take 20 would fit into something else if not on here. So it's interesting what's been left out. But what we have got is brand new remixes of Real Love and Free as a Bird. Now it sounds very much as though they've been remixed using the MAL technology that was used on Now and Then a couple of years ago. So I've been listening to the Free as a Bird remix today, because again that's on YouTube now, it's available to hear. I think it's on the Beatles official website as well, and it does sound really good. My initial thoughts when I heard it was John's voice sounds so much clearer now, so they'll have been able to take John's original recording and be able to sort of strip out things that don't need to be on there, whether that's tape hiss and just everything else that's getting in the way of John's voice, and it sounds so much clearer now. The technology just wasn't there to do that in the 90s, but it is now, as Now and Then proved in 2023. I also noticed some rhythm guitar in there in Free as a Bird that sounded to me very, very similar, if not the same, as rhythm guitar by George in Now and Then. So whether he was just playing a similar kind of rhythm or whether they've actually used that audio in both songs, I don't know, but maybe repeated listenings will give a bit more information away on that. And it's got Now and Then at the end. So it does feel like Now and Then, this is where Now and Then is supposed to sit in the anthology. It's where it fits much more than on the Blue album. And again, it makes the Red and the Blue albums that came out a couple of years ago, I feel that they were an odd decision to release those. This is where Now and Then belongs. It's a shame that we couldn't have had Now and Then officially released along with this anthology package and have it in its natural home right from the start. But there you go. This is what we've got. So there is the CD version and the LP version have got sort of an exclusive that's on the Beatles store with little bits of extra detail like postcards and slipcase over the package. But you are paying extra money for that, so it's whether you feel that that's worth it. Personally, not worth it for me. I don't know whether I'm going to get the vinyl version. At the moment, I haven't ordered that. I have ordered a copy of the CD box set though, so of course I'll be back release day with a lot more. I'll be back with videos about sort of reviews of that, and I'll be doing live streams, of course, with World Cups and things. You know I will. I'll be back with those. So how do I feel overall about this anthology release? I want to know how you feel about it as well, of course, in the comments, because I always enjoy seeing what you've got to say about these things. Overall, it's a mixed bag for me. I think there's some strange things missing that I think really this was a great opportunity to get some of those things that I've mentioned out here. But getting some of these tracks that are on Anthology 4, the ones that we've not had before, as well as having that new episode 9 of all that Threetles footage from the 1990s, that to me is the highlight of this whole thing. I just want there to be loads and loads of it. So Anthology for me was probably the most exciting music event I've ever known in my life. Just absolutely loved that period back in the mid-90s. So I'm looking forward to going through all that again, because Anthology was pretty special, and it's good that it's got a relaunch for its 30th anniversary, and good that a lot of people will probably get to see it for the first time, maybe you weren't around then. So let me know what you think down in the comments, and I will be back fairly soon, hopefully in a new room that'll look all nice and shiny and nice lights and records in the background again like I always used to. So I'll be back fairly soon. Thank you very much. See you later. Bye.